The digital revolution that happened in India in past couple of years or past 1.5 decades is related to something called digital public infrastructure. That is digital public infrastructure. It is DPI. This DPI, you must have heard about this term several times if you have been reading newspapers. As the name suggests, it is a kind of infrastructure which is available to the public and it is available in the digital environment. Like roads are available in the physical environment, available to the whole public. Likewise, there are certain infrastructures which are available to the public but in the digital environment. For example, what are those? The first one is Aadhaar. Right, when Aadhaar came, it entirely changed the Indian governance ecosystem and also Indian economy as well. Second one came as the payments system, which you call UPI, entirely totally digital and infrastructure built for payments available to the public and available in digital ecosystem. Then there is one more that relates to data sharing. This data does not mean internet, your daily data pack. This data here means something like your identification data, for example, your KYC norms, your ID cards that you share with the bank, the same data you share with the government to gain some subsidies or government scheme benefits. So this is some data sharing. This is also built on this DPI, digital public infrastructure. This article says that it argues that the next DPI for India should be intelligence. That means AI. India democratized the payment system. India promoted this Aadhaar based identification system. India promoted this data sharing system. Likewise, on the same lines, India should focus on promoting intelligence, promoting AI, so that it can reach the maximum people. Now, one thing over here that you need to understand here is that in this entire case, why it became possible? It became affordable. It became accessible. Right? Why UPI became accessible and affordable? Because government ensured that it remains free of cost. Plus, there is deep penetration of internet. 3G, then 4G, then 5G also came, and in India, internet is at dirt cheap rate, very cheap. Because of this, internet penetrated in rural areas as well, in deep pockets of the country, and the entire DPI of India, based on all these, could be made accessible to every nook and corner of the country as far as possible. Will this apply to AI as well? Can AI be made accessible across the country to the maximum number of people just because of cheap internet? No, it is not only about internet. So what are the how to make AI accessible and affordable? That is the next big query that we have. What is how to make AI accessible and affordable? For this, you should first understand the major challenges. What are the challenges that restrict AI from becoming accessible and affordable? The first major challenge is the costs of building an AI. These costs basically relate to GPU, we will explain it in a while, relate to electricity, these relate to data centers. What is GPU? GPU is an acronym for graphics processing unit. You must be knowing CPU. central processing unit. If you are using a laptop or a computer, then it has a CPU. So for your basic calculations, basic works on your laptop, like opening the Google Chrome, watching a video, using Microsoft Word, these are done by CPU. But if the calculations or operations need to be processed on a bigger scale, need to be completed on a bigger scale, then what it requires is graphical processing unit. It can compute data on a much larger scale, and this is one of the very important requirements for building an AI system. And this GPU is directly related to hardware in terms of semiconductors, chips, right? And these hardwares are only possessed by like advanced economies, advanced countries. Second one requirement is electricity. You must be knowing that AI consumes a lot of electricity. Electricity basically consumed to cool off the servers, data centers. Data centers means the servers, or where the entire processing is happening, where data is being stored. These three requirements actually jump up the costs related to AI. Second challenge is that these AIs are controlled by companies. What kind of companies? These companies are basically mostly located in US and Europe regions. Another important thing is that we as a country, India, we are actually act as a supplier of resources. And there is a difference between supplier of resources versus consumer of finished products. How to understand this? Supplier of resources means India supplies in terms of engineers, trainers, right? India supplies in terms of raw data to train the AI. India also supplies in terms of researchers that do researches to build the AI, and most of these things are being supplied to the foreign companies. And these foreign companies, after building their AI models, they sell some finished products to us. For example, ChatGPT. Right? ChatGPT is based on the training that happened because of the data provided by countries, not merely India, other countries as well. And engineers, trainers are also from India. So this ChatGPT, it acts as a finished product. How it acts as a finished product? You just give it some command to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT gives you the response, and you feel that it is resolving your response. So ultimately, we have become a consumer of the finished product. This article gives a very good analogy that relates to the British period, that India supplied cotton to England and imported clothes or textiles from the Europe. So this is one of the major challenges regarding building an AI. One more challenge is related to that there is a growing dependence on AI across sectors or professions. Across different sectors or professions, the dependence on AI is growing, and as it grows, our human thinking capability is getting reduced. More dependency means more promotion of the applications or platforms like ChatGPT, and ultimately the benefit is going to the companies. See, this is the one-sided argument that this article is providing. In UPSC, you need to be balanced. You cannot say that all the companies are only benefiting. You should also understand that those people have invested in terms of funds, in terms of entrepreneurship, in terms of managerial skills. Those people have actually researched a lot. They have invested a lot of time, effort, money. That's why they have built something called AI. India could not have that kind of resource. That's why we are lagging behind. We should also understand this. But for the time being, we will stick to what this article is actually, this editorial is actually talking about. So these were some of the 4 challenges that relate to, that restrict why countries like India or the global south could not build up a very effective or highly advanced AI model. Now, what could be the solutions? Solutions are also important. No? We cannot just limit ourselves to the challenges, because ultimately our objective is to make AI accessible and affordable. And for this, what could be the solutions? The solutions are very simple. Whatever the challenges, just try to find out its solutions. The first solution could be, or it is already under process, is India AI mission. This India AI mission provides GPU at subsidized rates. So Indian startups, or if any professional or any sector specific company wants to go ahead in the direction of AI generation model, then it can use the subsidized rates available, GPI available through India AI mission. Then the suggestion that this article actually provides starts from here, that it says that you should have a strong electricity grids. Electricity grids. It also suggests that dedicated renewable energy sources for AI models. Till now, we don't have that kind of system. We have the same electrical grid that supplies to the businesses as well, that supplies to the households as well, to the like everything. This article suggests that we can have a specific electricity grid, specifically curating to the needs of AI-based companies. We can have dedicated renewable energy sources as well. We can set up some particular solar plant or wind power generation site only to provide electricity to the AI-based companies. Third important suggestion, very important suggestion, it talks about open source AI. Open source AI. Now you should understand what is this open source AI versus closed source AI. See, to build an AI model, what is required is some kind of software is required, building the software, the codes, then some training data is required. Using this, a company builds an AI model. After building the AI model, it launches the AI model to be used by the common people, and they charge some amount, because nothing is free. Even ChatGPT is not free. After a certain number of commands, it will ask you to get some credits or buy some premium versions. So this closed source AI, what it means, that they are not providing the open codes on which they have built the AI model. Consider this way, you must be knowing the Apple iOS. That is an operating system used by Apple devices, and there is Google Android. Apple iOS is used only in Apple phones, Apple devices, but Google has kept Android a kind of open source, so that different handset brands like Samsung or Xiaomi or any other companies, they can use this open source Android system, and they can build their own interfaces based on that Android system. So this is a kind of open source, but the same thing is not applicable, not available in context of AI. So that's why this article suggests that the AI should be open source. What it means, that if the codes, the softwares, and everything is being given in the open world, in an openly accessible way, then people can customize it. For example, suppose we, after developing the AI model, its codes are given to the public, then people who want to build an Hindi AI tutor for India, they can easily build over it. Instead of creating an entire new AI model that needs a separate level of training in terms of Hindi and language and literature, gaining the open source of already trained AI model, the person or the startup can build his or her own Hindi AI tutor. that can be given at a very affordable prices to the for the common use, public use. So this customization can be possible only when open source AI is provided, so that anyone can use. Now these are the solutions that have been suggested in this editorial. And after reading this editorial, you will feel that okay, this is the very genuine. These are the very genuine suggestions. After all, it is providing some very genuine suggestions. What is the problem? What this article is not suggesting, not right talking about, is that these already have some issues. Even these suggestions, these solutions are not free from their own challenges. They have their own challenges. What kind of challenges? First challenge is, if you put everything in public domain, there will be low incentive for private sector to innovate. Right? What is the incentive that private sector is having to innovate? People have invested a lot of time to build an AI like ChatGPT. After that, if you force them to put it in public domain, they feel that it is useless. Why to innovate in future? Then, even if you put up that we discussed a while ago regarding GPU and electricity and data centers reducing their cost, even if it is to be done by the public sector, the government has to incur a huge cost. And we are already constrained with cost, constrained with funds. Putting AI for public use as an open source code may lead to misuse of AI, because ultimately it will depend on the intention of the user, intention of the software developer, how that person is going to use that trained AI model. Then there are actual challenges in terms of research, chips, right, skilled talent. Even if we go ahead with everything, where we will get the chips, the advanced chips? We are still in the very starting phases of building processors. Where we will get the researchers? Most of the researchers are like migrating to the better companies, advanced economies. So even if the author suggests these solutions, we should apply our own head that even if these solutions are not foolproof, these solutions itself are having some kind of issues. So this was the article related to how to make AI models in India public. How can AI become the next stage in DPI system of India? How it can become the next revolution? Because see, if AI becomes easily accessible and affordable, the biggest benefit will be that it will resolve lots of issues. Like if students can use AI effectively, they can study very easily at lower cost, and it has multiple applications as well. For example, in agriculture, AI can be used for prediction of weather. So this AI thing is very good, but to make it affordable and accessible to the each and every possible nook and corner of the country, that is the biggest challenge that India is facing. Now we will move to the next article. This article relates to not that important article, but still we have to study it because UPSC keeps asking questions related to these. This article relates to the SHANTI, a kind of, you can say, acronym that the government has given. This basically relates to India's maritime strategy. India's strategy related to the waters, international waters, like Indian Ocean. India is mostly concerned about Indian Ocean and Indo-Pacific Ocean. So this India's maritime strategy, it started evolving. First, there came an acronym in 2015. UPSC has asked a question also on this. In 2015, it came SAGAR. It is an acronym for Security and Growth for All in the Region. Security and Growth for All in the Region. Region means Indian Ocean region, right? This SAGAR was kind of a vision document. It gave a vision that how security and growth of everyone in the Indian Ocean region can be attained. Then a new acronym came in 2025 that is called MAHASAGR. It stands for Mutual and Holistic Advancement. Mutual and holistic advancement for security and growth across regions. It talks about across regions. Here is the keyword, across regions. That means Sagar was limited to Indian Ocean region. This pertains to, this is a vision document that expands the vision. Expands the vision of Sagar beyond Indian Ocean to include Indo-Pacific and also the global south. Now, very recently in July, External Affairs Minister of India came up with a new acronym that is called SHANTI. This SHANTI stands for Securing Holistic Advancement Through Norms, Trust and Integrity. Now, the terms here, norms, trust and integrity, and securing advancement, it is through. So this SHANTI is an implementation framework. Implementation framework. How to implement the vision of Sagar and Mahasagar? This SHANTI seeks to work on that. How to implement? Through norms, through trust, and through integrity. So this SHANTI, it is a kind of implementation framework that seeks to implement the vision of Sagar and Mahasagar through norms, trust and integrity. You should understand that these are not schemes per se. These are not schemes of central government or union government. Certainly not. These are just a kind of documents, policy approach, implementation framework. These are kind of, you can say, directives, directions, guidelines. In broader terms, you can consider it like that. So this pertains to entire Indian Ocean region, Indo-Pacific region, and also the global south. This article specifically highlights the importance of Bay of Bengal as India's SHANTI anchor. It says that why Bay of Bengal is important for this SHANTI. This SHANTI framework, if you want to implement SHANTI framework, Bay of Bengal has a very huge potential, huge importance. For this, you should understand why Bay of Bengal is important. First thing, it connects India to South and Southeast Asia. Right. It is important for Act East policy of India. Right. Access for Malacca State. Malacca State has its own importance for India's geopolitical survival. Then it has some climatic events that impact countries across the Bay of Bengal region. So these are the four, broadly you can say these are the four factors that highlight the importance of Bay of Bengal region. Now, why these are important? Because these collectively impact life and livelihood. Just because of one cyclone, life and livelihood of residents of India, Sri Lanka, and even Myanmar can be impacted. It impacts energy security. If something happens, if China controls the waterways, seaways, trade routes, then energy security can be impacted not only for Indian, but also for like Southeast Asian regions. Also connected with trade, right? These things, this Bay of Bengal, prosperous, peaceful, and collaborative approach-oriented Bay of Bengal is very important because of these reasons, and because it collectively impacts the entire population surrounding the region. Now for this Shanti thing is important. This Shanti implementation framework, it says that for a peaceful, prosperous, and beneficial Bay of Bengal, this Shanti framework can be implemented. So this is just a common implementation framework that we studied a while ago. Common implementation framework. Implement what? Implement certain norms related to maritime security, certain norms related to maritime security, maritime law, freedom of navigation. Implement what? Implement some cooperation in terms of humanitarian assistance and disaster relief, right? To prevent any catastrophic impact related to climatic events or incidents of disaster, cooperation in terms of humanitarian assistance and disaster relief. Unified cooperation framework can be implemented through Shanti. Then data sharing as well. Data sharing in terms of movement of ships, or climatic sharing of climatic information, right? So these are certain things. If the countries in the region collectively come up, start building some common implementation framework and work with the common goal of the benefit of the entire population, then certainly this kind of Shanti approach will lead to not only just a prosperous and peaceful Bay of Bengal. You can connect it with Arabian Sea as well. You can connect it with the broader Indian Ocean region as well. So this Shanti, this article actually talks about Bay of Bengal region. But the ultimate argument this article is giving is India's maritime strategy and how it is evolving. Now we'll move to our next article. This article is not very simple article. This article relates to the you must have heard about that fast track courts being set up for the speedy trial of the cases related to paper leaks. This is a kind of parley interview oriented article, but I have identified certain core issues, core concerns, core points that you can use in your answer writing. So, fast track courts. Fast track courts have been in news very recently, and it remains in news. Whenever something happens, the government usually proposes that we will set up a fast track court. But the question is, can merely setting up FTCs will resolve the root concerns? Is merely setting a fast track court is solution for all the related concerns? No, certainly not. What are the reasons? What are the factors that restrict full utilization, full realization of full potential of fast track courts? First thing is the resources, or you can say manpower. Whenever government announces to set up fast track courts, it does not provide for a separate judicial recruitment or separate judicial batch. It does not announce. So even if the fast track court is being announced in a particular city, then who will preside over those courts? The judges will come from the regular courts, right? Regular courts judges will be presiding over the fast track courts. So even if they are speeding up the proceedings in fast track courts, how it will impact? It will impact the proceedings of the regular courts. So this is one of the major challenges that have been highlighted over here. Then it talks about backlog. Backlog, it says that we need procedural reforms to fix the backlogs. FTCs, we are constituting FTCs for the very recent happenings or some sensitive cases. But what about the backlogs that are already lying pending in the regular courts? So it is very important to go for procedural reforms. What kind of procedural reforms? Procedural reforms in terms of adjournment of cases, adjournments of hearing. Pertains rule relates to all the stakeholders and how the witnesses can be produced in a timely manner. So there are lots of issues, giving of dates, how it is not being adjourned, the hearing is not being adjourned. So certain procedural reforms are also important. Otherwise, in the name of promoting FTCs, we will be creating a very new, bigger challenge for the regular courts. Then it talks about addressing these systems. It is difficult to expect fast-track courts alone to bring about lasting improvements in the delivery of speedy justice. So it is not about speedy justice. It is not about speedy justice only for the issues that relate to FTCs. Speedy justice is like something we have something called right to equality. If we are seeking to promote fast-track courts, speedy justice to some sensitive issues, some sensitive incidents, happenings, we should also promote this right to equality concept to the other people as well, to the regular courts as well, like the cases that have been lying pending for several years. One very good suggestion that have been given over here is that the criminal proceedings should not be in haste, should not be in hurry, because criminal proceedings requires a lot of investigation. You cannot do investigation a little bit of hurry. There will be like examination of witnesses, there will be like evidences corrected by forensic teams, and there are a lot of other stuffs related to it. So investigation will, an honest and effective investigation will take its own time. It cannot be done in haste. This is a very important suggestion, issue being highlighted over here. That we already discussed, like actual capacity, whether we have capacity, actually we do have capacity or not in terms of manpower, in terms of judges, in terms of infrastructure, whether we are having spaces for the judges to sit, whether we are having enough prosecutors like government or advocates to prosecute, whether we have a good number of typists, stenographers. So everything, these things are required, these issues are being highlighted. One thing that we already discussed is about equality, right to equality. So these are the 4 basic concerns highlighted related to fast-track courts in India. So just merely announcing the fast-track courts will not resolve the actual concerns. We should be actually think about procedural reform.